Hello, and welcome to Clamp, the Creating Living and Making podcast. I'm your host, Adam Mackey, and as always, I'm joined by Morley Kurt.
Hello.
And there's no Grant this week. Actually, he is camping with his wife and kid and dog. So we got a pretty decent replacement this week. Keith Decent. Hey, hey, mate, how's it going? Why don't you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
I'm Keith Decent. I build stuff. I'm an artist, and I make wacky crap out of garbage, mostly, I guess. So it's kind of hard to describe what I do sometimes.
And some really nice stuff not out of garbage. I feel like you have the full range.
I have, it's easier to work with not garbage, but it's a lot more expensive.
Very much. I relate to that heavily.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, well, what have you been working on this week? Okay. Yeah, sorry. Keith.
No, that's okay. I wanted to make sure it was my turn.
Sorry. We like to throw a guest under the bus. Every time we have a guest, we throw them under the bus and just ask them straight up what they're doing.
Yeah, I literally just got done telling you guys I'm goofy from spray paint fumes. Yeah. I'm building a roll down tiki bar, which there's a gazebo in my yard, kind of next to my pool. It's not really. I guess there used to be a hot tub in there, and then they took that out and filled it in with deck. So it's like just a structure built around it for no reason. And I was like, I really kind of want a little bar out there. Well, I don't want to have something I have to like move around all the time or like try to take care of or install. I didn't want a permanent thing. And I was like, well, there's a 7 by 8 foot space in this gazebo that faces the pool, and I wonder if I could just make something like I've done tambour doors and stuff in the past. I was like, I wonder if I could just make a roll down tiki bar facade that just can drop down and roll back up when it's not in use. And then I'll build a little C-shaped table that can slide in as the actual bar into the window hole. And so there's a window hole and a man door in the thing as it rolls down, and it's cedar strips glued to muslin, and it's going to roll up like bamboo blinds.
Nice.
Hopefully. I'm hoping it's going to roll up like bamboo blinds. It very well could not do this.
So when you posted that,
story, my first thought was like a van interior, because it vaguely had the shape of like
it has
a van or a van cladding. And then when you send me back those two pictures, like tiki bar plus blinds, I was like, who else would make that connection? Because I feel like that's your specialty, is taking two very like unexpected things and turning them into a very interesting project.
I do a lot of mashups, that's for sure. And I've got some other small stuff I'm working on in the background. I'm doing a collaboration with Tim Sway. That's it's not as secret anymore, but we're doing a guitar and a carpet put together. So it's gonna be a carpeted guitar, full playable thing. And on the side of that, I'm also trying to invent a new kind of chair. So there's just a few things going on. The chair collapsed on me yesterday, so that might take a little longer than a week.
Molly has experience with that.
Oh, yeah, I know. That cardboard chair is so cool.
Yeah.
It hasn't collapsed yet, though. It's very sturdy.
Yeah, no, it looks like it is. This was made out of conduit that I tack welded together, and it was like, when I sat on it, it's going to have an inner tube as the seat cushion. So it's going to be kind of like a Papa San chair, but it's just going to be a freestanding metal base with straps on it, and then you take the inner tube from the pool, put it on top of that, strap it in, and it's a chair as well. So it like saves space and kind of because outdoor cushions are expensive, like needlessly expensive.
Yeah,
and these things are only like $9 at Job Loss. These tubes. So I figured, it's my neighbor. I figured that I was like, well, that's cheaper, and like I was watching all my kids sit on them at the poolside, and I was like, okay, this could be something.
Oh yeah, that was the best. I forgot about that from my childhood. Is like you'd be like in the pool in an inner tube, and then you take it out, stack two on top of one another, and then you have like the most comfortable easy chair.
Yeah.
Put some water in it, and it heats up, and then you have like a little hot tub as well. That's a great idea.
Do you mean like it's like a donut shaped, right?
Yeah, the donut shaped inner tube.
So you have to call it the hemorrhoid chair.
The hemorrhoid chair. I might do that, but I won't. But that's the three things that's what I was doing all day today, was those three objects.
Nice. Sounds like a good varied day.
Yeah.
Yeah, from spray painting to welding to rug making, back and forth all day.
Nice. Well, last weekend I was continuing work on the plywood fountain that I mentioned last week. And it's kind of in like the applying layers of epoxy and finish stage. So there's not much like exciting forward movement. So being like pretty busy with work during the week, I just kind of wanted to like get something done and make a video this weekend. So I decided to do my second fusion tutorial and made a video about like my whole process on making 3D printed leather stamps, which was fun and not super hard. It's cool when you've done a process a lot of times and then you actually talk about it and you realize you have a lot to say about it. And like every time the reason I kind of wanted to make it is because every time I do one of those projects, people ask me like a million questions about all the different particularities. So I was like, oh, well, clearly there's a demand for this information. And I think that hypothesis was correct because a lot of people are watching it, which is always fun. So that was a fun little thing last weekend. But I really want to like test out this fountain. Like that's what I'm really excited to do. As far as I can tell, I think it should work. Like I sealed all the parts that are going to be like submerged in water with epoxy. It's really interesting. I didn't really anticipate this, but I never used epoxy as like a finish before. I'd only really like cast it, I guess. Yeah. Only really had cast it before. So, but like I was brushing it in thick layers over edge grain of plywood, and it actually does soak in a fair bit. So it feels still kind of rough, which doesn't really matter because it'll be water running over it. There's no hand feel that I'm worried about. So I'm hoping like it's sufficiently waterproof because it does still feel kind of wood-like, but it's really coated in epoxy. So I hope it works okay. We'll see once I test it out after I seal the gaps with silicone.
Yeah, I hope that works out for you. That's a cool idea.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I hope it is. It's one of those things when you're like, not a lot of people do this. I wonder if it's for a good reason.
That's like everything I do. I try to do something that no one does, and then I'm like, well,
Oh, this is why no one does it.
Yeah. So you find that out a lot when you're pushing that envelope constantly. It's like, well, okay.
Yeah. I mean, the other major thing I'm running against is like my plan at first was to make it wall mounted. And then because the lumber supply was out of 1/2 inch plywood, I ended up building out of 3/4 inch plywood. And the design is a lot heavier than I anticipated. So like probably won't hang it from the wall. So it has yet to have a home, but the focus first is to get it done and see it running. I'm planning on having some friends over this weekend. So I really want to get it done to like show off. But probably won't get it quite there, but yeah, maybe it'll be a little drinking fountain for Penny. And then I can have everyone on the internet tell me that I'm poisoning my cat with chemicals, as tends to happen in those videos.
Seems like you like to make a lot of things for Penny. A chair-shaped cat scratcher, water fountain, drink bottle.
Well, you know why it is? I always, as a kid, like fantasized about being like a miniature person, like 6 inches tall, and being able to like explore like my mom's garden, like, you know, like I was the size of a cat. And I always thought like cats have the coolest lives because they're able to do all those things. So I think part of me like is like, if I was this small, these are the little structures I would want. It's like the same kind of fascination with miniatures. So I'm living vicariously through Penny. As I say to Eden all the time, she's my inspiration.
There you go.
Yeah. And you shop for them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Adam, well, what about you? What have you been up to this week?
Well, I finally got my deck finished. Really happy with how it turned out. So it's it ended up being 8 meters long, and the last 2.5 meters of it is a step down of about half the height. And then
what kind of wood did you build it out of?
It's all pine. Yeah, pine framing, pine decking for the top. And then we're going to leave it for about a month, give it a sand, and then probably stain it. I don't know if we're going to change the color. Like we might stain it walnut or something, give it a different look. Or we'll just clear it. But yeah, but the exciting news, I finally have my CNC. I'm so damn happy. I got it set up and I was playing around with it for like the first couple of days, and I'm like, it just doesn't seem like it's like the first time I got a 3D printer off a mate, and it just would not be right. It just would not cut right, would not print right, and I'm just like, something's going on here, and I was really confused, and I'm thinking like, this is going to be one of like I spent so much money on this machine, I can't just be like, oh okay, well it's not like I can't get frustrated and just give up. And then I found out about tramming a CNC. Which essentially, for those that don't know, is when you put the router in, it's not necessarily completely level. So what you need to do is that the x-axis, which is like the gantry on top of the two long rails, you need to loosen those bolts and sort of turn it so that that's level in a way, from front to back. Tighten those bolts up and then loosen the actual capture for the router and make that level as well. So I did all that, and now it's cutting amazingly. I cut out all I've cut so far is out of cutting boards, plastic cutting boards. I cut out a dust boot and some hold downs. And currently right now is the longest cut I've done cutting while we record. It's about 3 hours
it's going right now.
Yeah, it's going right now. So it's about a 3-hour cut. My wife's down there. I said, if you hear any weird noises, just go check on it.
Yeah.
I got to get a webcam for it so I can like check on it when I'm not in the shop.
I can see mine from my bathroom window, so it works.
Yeah. Well, ours is like completely enclosed in the garage, but I haven't put the dust boot on yet because I haven't finished actually like putting the brush on it and all that sort of stuff. So there's just MDF dust going everywhere right now. But I'm cutting out. So I made a torsion box for it to sit on, and then for half of that, the torsion part inside is actually removed, and it's going to have a drawer that pulls out. So currently, right now, the bottom of the drawer is getting cut out to hold all like the bits and all that sort of stuff. So yeah,
nice.
So it's been pretty fun. Yeah.
That's your first CNC?
Yeah, first CNC.
Yeah, man, it's a big upgrade.
Yeah, well, and I upgraded it as well. It's so that like I think a normal size, I don't know how big an X-carve is, like a meter by a meter, but this is a meter by a meter and a half. And this thing is huge. Like I did not anticipate how big it would be. And then I actually built it, and I like had to extend the table that I made for it and stuff. And it's crazy.
That's sick. I had a similar. It's cool when you like get a piece of equipment like that, and you never expect those things like tramming, I think, until you dive into that particular craft. And I had a similar experience with my 3D printer because I put it together from a kit, and it's really interesting, like how all the ways you can make it more accurate. Luckily I didn't have to like really troubleshoot much of it because the documentation and the printer itself was so good that it was kind of just like doing all the checks. But I find all those different ways that like you make something like that more accurate is like very fascinating. That's why I really like This Old Tony's videos, even though I don't do any machining, because like all those different ways of making something square and like how do you ensure it's square just through analog mediums is so interesting.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, about like the actual machine itself. So I got the machine. I'm going to be putting out a video soon of like the unboxing and first sorts and stuff. But it literally took me 31 minutes to put the entire machine together.
Whoa.
Yeah, which I think is amazing considering I've seen videos of people saying, and I've seen people say it takes like 10 hours to put an X-carve together.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of them. I've seen pictures of them in the corner of someone's shop, and they're like, "Yeah, I got it halfway done," and a couple days later, I just stopped.
Yeah, that's what I love about the company I got it from. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but they do ship internationally and stuff. We'll have a link to those in the show notes. But they build every machine before it's shipped out. They build it, they test it with like their own software and stuff, make sure everything works, and then they pretty much just take off the X gantry. And pull like the bottom framing apart and then ship it out to you. So all the wire rails and everything are all put together, belts and everything are already run. And it was like literally like 20 bolts and the thing was together.
My CNC is not one of those kinds of my CNC is a weird one, and it took a lot of tinkering to get it right, and it takes constant tinkering to keep it right, but It's a full sheet CNC, so it's it works for me. But it's the Maker Made M2, which I don't know if anybody knows what that one is. That's essentially a router that hangs on the wall off of 2 bike chains wrapped around a couple of solenoids with sprockets on them.
I've seen that.
Yeah, with a controller in the back, and like it just gears up and runs the thing across the board at like a 10-degree angle off the wall, give or take.
Yeah,
and it's incredible that it works at all. And when it does work, it's great. It's just one of those things that like something always is like you have to be there watching it. Like the one time I went back in the house to grab something like from my room and go back out. Like I looked out the bathroom window because I could see into my shop from that window. And I just see the router swinging across the room from one chain instead of the second chain because one of the chains came off, and it's just like wrapping itself around the corner and like hitting my tool wall and like bouncing off my chisels, and it's on too. So it's like,
it's like Final Destination.
Give me like a mini heart attack. And I have to go down there and I have to like catch this thing.
Oh my God.
It was bouncing around the outlet that it was plugged into. So you couldn't just go down and yank the plug.
Whoa.
Jeez.
Yeah. That was fun. And then I used it to make 20 record bins. So, that was
Adam's going to go run out and check on his CNC when there's a lull in the conversation.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
But the CNC, that was a big upgrade for the business. Like that put me being able to upgrade the shop this year and then put a automated thing in there was something that really stepped up what I was able to do,
Yeah, well, so my whole point of getting the CNC was to start a business in a sense. My first thought, so like I have ideas, I want to cut out these cutting boards and engrave real estate names in them and stuff and sell them to real estates to give us people when they buy houses and that. And then I was telling my wife, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to ask, I'm just getting one. You can just deal with it. And then she got excited. She's like, oh, we can cut all this stuff, and I want to start a business doing this. So now we're starting a business together, which is actually pretty fun. I mean, I got myself in trouble at first because I completely forgot about that conversation and started making business cards with my business name and stuff on them. And then she's like, I literally was about to click order, and she's like, what are you doing? And then I got in a bit of hot water there. She's like, well, we said we're going to do this together. And anyone who follows me on Instagram may have noticed that I've been tagging a company called the Mackie Co. when I do stuff. So that's going to be like our joint company, and then I'll probably just share stuff on my Instagram that we're cutting out and stuff, which is pretty cool.
I like the name, the Mackie Co.
Thank you.
It rolls off.
Yeah. Well, she wants to do acrylic cake toppers and stuff, so we'll probably do us, and then I would still do my cutting boards sort of side business, but we'll just use that company's name, saves us having to register 2 companies and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool. But yeah. So in saying that, I never really realized how overwhelming starting a business can be. The things that you don't think of, take away from the business, the name and registering and taxes and all that sort of stuff. But just the little things, so one of the things I was thinking of is do you think that you can be too professional? i.e. photos and stuff. If someone goes to your website and sees these photos that are so professionally done, do you think they're going to turn and go, this doesn't look like a family run business sort of thing?
I think it's possible. I think it depends on what you want your clientele to be, really. Because you can definitely run the risk of someone being it almost looks fake if it looks too good, Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
I don't believe there's only one person behind this or 2 people or whatever. It doesn't.
And you don't want to be mistaken for a stock photo.
Yeah.
Exactly my point. Yeah.
That's I don't know if they're really making these things or if they just took other people's stock photos and uploaded them.
Yeah.
It could definitely happen.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I think that the hardest thing is we're not just trying to start a business of selling cutting boards. We're trying to start a business of personalized items, which I think is a lot different in a sense of making a website and stuff. Of how do you perceive that to the customer that this is personalized stuff and not just hey, buy this thing that I have in stock.
Yeah, it's tough because you have to have it on your website as stock, and then people are going to see it and be like, I don't want a cutting board with the name Johnny and Sarah on it. That's not my name.
Yeah, exactly.
When are you going to put one up with my name on it? It's
I would say,
and then
Yeah, I was talking to a mate at work, and he was saying it'd be really cool. I'm sure there's a way you could do it, but it'd be really cool if you could have like your website where they can key in what they want, and it will actually show them like on a cutting board what it would look like.
You could definitely do that. It's just pain in the butt.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's very a lot of things I haven't really thought about, which is a bit crazy. In saying that, talking about like websites and stuff, how important do you think like a website is?
These days, I was gonna say these days I think it's less important than you think. I don't know. I mean, I think for the last 15 years it's been a lot less important than it used to be.
Yeah.
But I think it's coming back around where as all the social media sites are so scattered and now they're all trying to connect back to your website, you know, like and then you have your shopping and all that kind of stuff. I think Instagram and Facebook they're working their way towards having themselves be the Shopify or the
exactly.
you know, or the Ecwid or whatever it is. They're now they link to stores now, and now they're like, oh, now you can pay through Facebook, and like the next step is like use our services instead of your websites. You know,
yeah.
Although, like that being said, I mean, we've already seen it happen a bit with Facebook, where they just inundate their platform with so many features that it becomes like near unusable. And I think maybe that's part of the reason of like the resurgence of the websites. And I think it also just really depends on your business. Like, I think it's, so for example, like the camp that I work at, so they end up just getting a lot of their traffic from like Google searches. And they put a lot of work into their social media, and I think it pays off, but like the benefit isn't as directly tangible. It feels more like brand building and posting Instagram stories and building that kind of story around your clientele. And especially in a camp, it's like so important, especially in a young camp, to kind of build that identity. But when they're talking about like business and new people signing up, like a lot of it seems to come from people like who are finding the website. And so I think, so much of the time, I think it is specific to the business. And maybe another reason too, like of going away from maybe the resurgence of the website is just like you go on Instagram now and like you see like so many ads for things. And so, I guess you could be a business and post your own ads, but then also like maybe people are less likely to go and purchase something through Instagram because they see all of these ads. It's like constantly chasing a moving target.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that actually leads into another point I had is in today's like day and age, how important is social media? And I guess like from that is saying that it is pretty important to be having social media now, especially with the shopping side of it. But what about like trying to build an audience and stuff? Do you think like that's important for a business, or do you think in like the kind of businesses that we do, it's more of a like people will be like, oh, I need this thing, I want to try and look for it?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important in a creative business to have social media presence, because that's kind of like your portfolio and your communication tool with the world. You can get people to go to your website, and God knows I have people send me messages through my website, and I forget to check them all the time. And 6 months later, I'm like, oh, somebody wanted a thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, I communicate with everybody through Instagram. My entire portfolio of what I'm working on is there. It's where I get most of my business from. But then again, like the lumberyard that I got all my stuff from has literally zero social media presence, and they're doing just fine because they don't have to be like, we have wood. Like they're the lumberyard, you know. They're there. They're in the phone book. They're on Google. Like they have a website. The website's terrible, but you can just call them. You know.
Yeah, exactly. I think the difference with that is like that's something that people need though. Like you need to go to the lumberyard to get lumber, whereas they're not trying to sell you their product.
Yeah. I think I don't need to connect with every brand and every company in a personal way. Like they all want me to, like ease up, Doritos. Like, I don't want to have a conversation with you.
Exactly like, my point. Yeah.
Yeah. But like one of you guys, like I would have a conversation with you about something that you're working on. If I wanted to purchase something through you, like it would be a lot more of a personalized experience. And a lot of people are looking for that, but I don't need Applebee's trying to slide into my DMs and say what's up.
But Wendy's, on the other hand,
Wendy's can slide in my DMs anytime.
Yeah.
Wendy's slides Never mind.
Great Twitter account, Wendy's.
Yeah, that's true.
I think in saying that though, it's important to think about like how big of an area are you trying to cover with your business? Like we're trying to keep our business pretty localized. I mean, we'll probably ship like within Australia sort of thing, but I'm not going to be shipping internationally and trying to get business from far away. At this point in time, I'm looking to try and find like where I don't have to ship. Like people can come pick it up, or we can send or we can take it to them, or all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, that's 90% of what I do. I hate shipping. I don't ship furniture. Just because I don't have to. Like I built a very good local following up in my early days on Instagram, and there's a lot of people around this area. It's a very cool place to be right now, the Hudson Valley in New York, which is just north of New York City. It's just the region around the Hudson River essentially, but it's all a lot of artsy towns and a lot of culture and stuff like that. And I have people do local pickup, or I bring it to them myself if they're in a certain area. But I haven't ever. The last piece of anything I shipped was a lamp that I shipped like 4 years ago, and it broke upon arrival. And I was like, I'm done with this. I'm like, I would just bring it to them myself if I can from now on. And it works out okay. The location tools on social media are incredible because they really allow you to target a very specific local audience, not in just with ads, but like just clicking on the location of somewhere and like liking everything in that location. Like if you go to like Beacon, New York, which is like a very cool artsy town that I used to live in, and they have their own hashtags for Beacon as well. Like if you go there, you'll find tons and tons of posts, and you can see who people are that might be like keyed into what's going on and what's cool in the area, and you can follow them and like everyone's stuff, and you get a lot of follow backs, and you start to generate a lot of momentum in your local area that way. And it really, really helped me out doing that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Something I didn't really think about. And in saying that, like with Instagram and stuff, I've never turned on where I am. Like if I make a post from my Maker Mackie account, I don't tag that I'm like in Sydney, Australia, or whatever like that. But with the Mackie code, maybe that's something we should try and do to try and show people where we actually are.
And certainly tag like places other people are going to be looking for pictures of, like you don't necessarily have to be like, oh, tag a nearby waterfall or something that's like a scenic area, but like your city or like a nearby city that's got a lot of cool stuff that people like to go to. Like that's a good thing to do. Like right now I tag my own, I made a location for my business and I tag that a lot of times, but if I want people to see a thing, I'll tag my city, or I'll tag Dutchess County or Hudson Valley or even Beacon where I don't live anymore. And put it in there just to get it on the list,
Yeah.
So you made a taggable location for do you have like a cool name for your workshop that you can tag on Instagram?
Yeah, it's Fort Decent.
Oh wow, I need to learn how to do that.
When all you got to do is you got to make it in Facebook, I believe, and then you have to like link. It's a pain in the butt, but it's not hard. But it just like
sounds worth it.
Takes feelings. Yeah, it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
I miss the old days when you could just like write in whatever it was and it would automatically make it a location. Like that was
I remember that.
In the
Oh
early days of
yeah.
Instagram locations. You just type in whatever you want, and it would work. Now they took that away because they want the map integration and everything like that to be accurate.
You probably had a lot of people tagging like
those were like the days when
disrespectful things.
When anyone could make a Snapchat filter.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, you might still be able to do that, but I feel like in the early days of Snapchat filters, it was very easy to just like make one on the fly, and anyone in the location could use it.
Yeah, anybody can make the Snapchat filters, IG filters, and the GIFs. I call them GIFs, just as a disclaimer. The story GIFs and the stuff that you can select in Instagram. You can make those and get them. Oof, I should have muted that. The ones I'm talking about, like when you just like search the GIF and like you can now that like everyone has them now, like Bob from I Like to Make Stuff has his own like special ones, like you can make your own branded ones. Yeah, it's something I need to do because it's just because, but it's another thing that if you make something that's broad enough, then you're getting your name out there some more.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, I'm gonna put that down to do.
I have lots of ideas. I don't do any of them, but I got.
Adam, what would be your if you had a Maker Mackie GIF or GIF? I say GIF. Disclaimer. What would be the first Maker Mackie GIF? How are you memeing yourself?
I don't know. Honestly, my first one would probably just be my logo.
Okay.
You could do a Mackie Co. You could call it like "cut it out." So whenever anybody ever searched for a GIF that was like "cut it out," and then it would be like one of your cutting boards with like your name on it.
Oh, that's cool.
And,
I like that.
and like a knife chopping it or something like that.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go. Checks in the mail.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
How so? I apologize, Keith. I don't really know that much about your business either. But how long have you been running your business for?
Doing what I'm doing specifically now about 6 years, I think.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I started out about 8 years ago doing flea market and estate sale clean outs and sales. And then I started just putting stuff together from the junk that I had because I saw people selling handmade goods at flea markets and they were doing really well. And for like price versus work, because when you're selling old junk at a flea market, people talk you down all the time, but they talk you down less. Not never, but they talk you down less when you have handmade goods. And then you can put a markup on them. That's a fair thing, If I sell a bench, maybe I'll get $50. If I turn a bunch of old skis that I found into a simple bench, I could sell it for like $250.
Yeah, right.
And I've really only done a few hours of work, but it's a better bench than the one. They understand that there's a difference, which is something that they don't always realize at flea markets.
Right.
It amazes me, like the things I see, like junk for sale. I say junk, but I mean it's not.
Oh yeah,
you've made something from it or whatever. But like I went to a secondhand store a couple of months ago, and I'm like walking through, and I'm like, I have literally thrown this out before, and these people are selling it for money. Like, it's insane.
It might be that one.
Yeah,
it's the one you threw out.
Yeah. When saying that though, in the last 6 years, what are some do's and don'ts you have learned?
Jeez. I don't know. Don't do most of what I do, I guess. I'm not a good businessman. I'm really not. I'm terrible at making money.
That's good though. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a creative. I have friends that are so good at making money, and it's just funny to talk to them because they're always thinking about it. I'm like, I'm going to build a seat that looks like salami, and you're like, what? They're like, what are you going to charge for that? I'm like, I don't know. I have to find somebody that's going to buy it and figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only finally got okay at pricing stuff in the last couple of years because I got sick of like working for nothing. But it's you have to come back to me for do's and don'ts because I'm terrible at this.
I think speaking on the pricing side, I think that's a big it's a big thing to try to work out, especially with CNC work. Like I was on Because We Make a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about, and I was saying that these cutting boards that I want to sell to real estates, I'm looking at charging $70 a board if they buy 10. It's like $700 for 10, and it'll cost me $100 in material to make it. And Vincent was saying to me, like, that is way too little to be charging for a cutting board. But to me, I'm like, $70. Like, when I look at the overall cost of what it's going to cost me, is next to nothing. It's like $70 seems very low, and I'm probably selling myself short. But to me, like, that's a big profit margin that I'm going to have.
Yeah, but also you got to think about what else you're going to be doing with that business. You said you're maybe doing some acrylic cake toppers, things like that, which are going to be a lower margin item, because something that tops on a cake is, you're spending more on something like, just as an example, like if you have an acrylic cake topper that lights up and all this kind of stuff, like that's more time consuming than a cutting board because it's a little more specialized and smaller work. And you got to automate stuff, and it's got batteries and lights and, all that kind of thing. As opposed to the cutting board, like if you can charge more for the cutting board, that gives you a bigger margin overall that then extends to the other stuff that you also want to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a cutting board like that, like especially for someone who's a realtor, if they're selling a house, and these days their margin on that house, their commission on that house is going to be huge.
Yeah.
They'll spend $200-$300 on something, especially if maybe they don't give it to, if they give it to the people or not, maybe they want to offer it as an option. Maybe they just want to, if you charge them like $225 for it and they charge the customer, they're like, oh, you can keep this, we'll put your address on it or something like that, and you can keep this with your house when you get it for an extra $300 if you throw it in or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not thinking in terms, those guys aren't thinking in terms of hundreds of dollars at all. So, the difference to them between 70 and like 225, $300 is nothing.
Yeah. It's a really good point. It dovetails with something I've kind of realized in my, I don't know, last couple of years of doing my own thing to certain extents, of just like striking while the iron's hot. Like if you have those opportunities to like do something that is very lucrative, like you should take it, because it won't exist forever. Like if there is a big housing slump, like you're not going to be able to get those same sort of prices and margins. So yeah, cover those cake toppers, cover your loss leaders.
Yeah. And it gives you a little wiggle room to figure out what you're going to do next, or what else you might want to expand into. If you have something that's doing well, charge as much as you can for it, because you never know what else is going to come down the pipe.
Yeah, and in saying that, if I was to make a cutting board for someone custom with engraving in that, I'd be charging a lot more money. I'm trying to think of how to get my foot in the door with like a real estate agent, and I'm not trying to sell them one cutting board. I'm trying to get them to make bulk orders of at least 10. So I'm like, I'm not looking at it like, oh, they're going to pay $200 per board. I'm looking at it as they're going to pay me $700 at a time, in a sense. Mm-hmm. And like, I know a lot of real estates around here, they'll just give you like a bottle of wine. So I'm thinking like, what isn't too much? Like, I don't want to scare them away.
Yeah.
Like what, they probably pay like $50 for the bottle of wine with like a custom sticker on it or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you never know what's going to scare somebody away until you actually scare them away,
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. Like, so many times, I mean, you guys know this, like when someone asks you to like give them an estimate or quote them a price on something, and you just like, you sit there and you toil over it, and you come back and you're like, here's the fair price. And they're like, oh yeah, totally. Because it's like so cheap beyond what they thought it was going to be. And then you're like, crap, now I'm stuck working for nothing because I was trying to be nice and fair about it. And it's like, now
when I did
a huge favor.
When I did the van from a personal trainer, and he asked me how much, and I worked it out, I'm like, about 1,000. And he's just like, yep, no worries, let's do it. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, geez, I could have charged you so much. Like, yeah. I literally I still made like, I think I made like $400 in profit on that or something, but like, and then like a lot of consumables as well, because I charged him like for a 4 liter like a gallon bottle of glue when I only needed like, I don't know, 100 mil.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking of with the cutting board stuff is if you could differentiate the actual cutting board in some way, because right now there's a lot of companies that basically buy like a cheap bamboo cutting board and then they'll engrave on it. And then that's the deal. Like something, if you could emphasize that it's completely constructed by you, maybe use some local wood or something like that, something that really ties to the community. That would help, just to set somebody on a price where they won't just go to Etsy and be like, yeah, but this guy would make it for $25.
Yeah. In saying that though, I'm not making the cutting boards in a sense. So from our big box store, so Bunnings, which is your version, your Lowe's, I can buy a panel. It's like pretty much made to make a bench. Mm-hmm. And out of this panel, I can fit 14 cutting boards in the size that I'm looking to do. That panel cost me $100. So I can cut. So for $100, I make 14 cutting boards, and I want to sell 10 for $700. Like, that's a massive profit.
Yeah, that's good.
But
that
it is a low cost for a cutting board, especially with custom engraving and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah. But, cool.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I was under the impression you were making a cutting boards at that point. Yeah.
No. Definitely not. Not if I'm going to be selling 10 at a time.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, some people are crazy. I don't know how crazy you are.
No, that's the thing. If I was making the cutting board from scratch, like milling up all the wood and stuff, then definitely I would not be charging $70. But yeah, cool. I don't really have any more questions about business stuff.
Well, I have a take. I'm curious of Keith. Wow, that wasn't a sentence. I have something I'm curious to get Keith's take on, and that's like something I think about a lot in terms of like in business and just balancing costs and revenues. And it's kind of like sweating the small stuff. And I think about it like, so when I'm like pricing out like my own work or something, and a lot of times it comes down to like, I don't really need to be thinking about like this $5 and then that $10 over there and like these small costs. It's more about like the larger things in general. But I feel like if you are like running a business in a I don't know, a rigorous way, then those small costs kind of add up. So I don't know, Keith, I'm curious if you have any kind of philosophy about that, about like thinking about those small costs or more like focusing on the big picture, or is one just not even a consideration?
I'm a big picture guy. I try to like focus on that stuff. I keep all my receipts at least, but like for the most part, no, I'm not. I buy dumb crap all the time that I don't even know if I'm going to make a profit off of what I make with it. I don't even know if the thing is going to get built. I waste money like crazy, especially on the business, but I save a lot of money in the same way because I use reclaimed wood, and someone's always tearing up a deck somewhere, so I get all these old cedar decking boards and things.
And
I think if you have a broad sense of where you're going to get your money from, where you're going to save your money from, and just try to stick to that, that's your best bet. Then you don't have to worry about how many screws you're putting into each thing that you make, When I was doing the record bins, I built 20 record bins for a record store, and I was counting the screws in every one of them because I had to order the screws, and I didn't want to order an extra like 150 150 Craig screws or whatever, because that's $15 I'll never get back. But like for the most part, I try not to. If that's how you want to run your business, that's great. Some people are really good at that, and they really love just getting down to the nitty gritty and knowing the cost versus the price of every single thing they do. I am not that way. I just try to make enough money off of it where my best estimate for how much I spent on it is covered, and then everything else I need is covered. And that's what I go for.
Well, and I think that approach makes a lot of sense, because I think even if you feel like you're being smart and clever by like counting every single screw, at the end of the day, you probably will get to the same result by having a rough estimate and just over ordering on things that don't go bad. And I see that a lot, like at the camp I'm working at. Like I am learning so much about like running a business here, because it's like we're always ordering materials for these projects with the kids, and a lot of times it comes down to like, are we going to use this in the next 3 years? Like we have somewhere to store it. If we get a little extra, it's really fine. And like one thing I noticed with the director of the camp is like, if he thinks something is like remotely necessary and it's not really like, if we have the space for it and he thinks we're going to use it, like he'll just buy it, even if it's not like 100% like this is definitely what we're going to do. And usually like you can return it, like it'll work out. And it's a very different mindset from what I have, because I'll hem and haw about purchases a lot. And it's something I'd like to become better at, is kind of just like thinking more in the big picture. But if you give yourself that like mental freedom to kind of just like, if I have the space for it, get that thing. And it just, I think it also kind of allows you to not feel so like confined by the constraints that you're working within. Because then you now all of a sudden, like you have the tools to do the things to make the things that you want to make, which is really big, to not feel like you're working inside a shoebox.
Yeah, it's important. I know with the rugs, I was trying to figure out what my costs were, because I don't, I buy a lot of wood, so I know basically what wood costs. I don't buy a lot of yarn. So I go into the store, I go into Joann Fabric, and I'm just pulling yarn off the shelf and filling up the entire, I'm like, I need three skeins of this color, and I need this color, and I need this color because I want to do this kind of rug. And I end up with a cart full. And even after the Joann's, like every day, 20% off everything in the store coupons they send me all the time, like I'm still running up a couple $100 worth of stuff. And I'm like, I should really divide this in my head about what I'm using each rug, and I should know this because I have to start pricing these things, and I just try to get a general idea. It's like, okay, so it's got to be, I'm using about $75-$80 worth of materials for the rug, so I can at least go from there and figure out my labor and stuff on that end.
Yeah,
but
it's a cool mentality though, like, and it's one that I admire. It's kind of like Jimmy DiResta was talking about, I think in the last Making It, which is like, buy expensive stuff and then figure out how to pay for it, versus like hemming and hawing about every little thing. I think a lot of artists like yourself like think in that way, which is allows you to create really cool stuff.
Yeah, we just build the ladder to get to our idea for the most part, and then we figure it out afterwards. If I was making more like product runs and stuff like that, I'd probably be a lot more specific about my needs, and I wouldn't over purchase, and I wouldn't be. But I make different stuff as often as I can, so I never really know what I'm gonna have or need or anything like that, And so I don't end up I don't end up stocking up early and having like, oh, I'm going to need these 3 sanding belts next month because I go through 3 sanding belts a month. I'm like, oh crap, I need a sanding belt right now. Then I have to go buy one. I'm just like, I'm not going to worry about the cost versus Amazon versus Home Depot. I'm just going to go buy a sanding belt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would suppose that you would deal with a lot of people complaining of like prices and stuff. Especially like you said, $80 for a rug, and then like once you add your costs and stuff on, people are going to look at that and go, like, seriously, you're going to charge me $150 for a rug? Like, what are you talking about?
I'm going to charge a lot more than $150 for something.
Yeah, you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, no, for sure. The rugs are a weird thing because it's art. For me, it's art. I'm using them to convey an artistic idea that I had, and the rugs are the medium.
Yeah.
And people, a lot of people are like, well, you shouldn't take pictures of them on the floor. People should hang those up. And I'm like, I mean, if they want to put art on the floor, that's cool. I think art should go on the floor if you want it to also, you know? You just got to take care of it in the way you want to. You spent the money on it, but
yeah,
like the rugs are going to be, you know, probably $500 by the time I really nail the process and get it all down a piece. I just sold 3 of the first run of rugs because they're imperfect. Like one of them has a small little thin spot, and one of them the backing's not so good, and one of them's got like a wrinkle in the back and stuff like that. So they're not up to my standards, but people were really bugging me because they really, really wanted to buy them. So I said, here they are at a discounted price.
Yeah.
This is my learning price. You're basically buying me more yarn for the ones I'm going to sell for real. So, and yeah, it's been a weird thing going from furniture to textiles.
Yeah, for sure.
It's cool though. And I have a quick tangent, and I hope you can answer it. Can you explain on a very basic level how a tufting gun works?
Yes, I'm curious as well because I've seen them and I'm like, how? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
So a tufting gun, for anyone listening who doesn't know, is basically like an AK-47 sewing machine. It has a motor, and it's basically the back half of a drill without the chuck part fitted into a gearbox, which then changes the circular motion of the motor into forward and back motion of a needle, which is a large spade-shaped needle that's about the size of a dime, give or take. And underneath the needle in some of the rug guns, there's 2 different kinds. There's cut pile and loop pile. Loop pile just punches it through and then brings the thread back out and punches it through the next one as one continuous thread. The cut pile rug sends the needle in, and then immediately as the needle's withdrawing, it sends in scissors and it snips the loop, making it a cut pile. The pile is the height of the rug with the thread. So that's how it works. You thread the yarn into it and you hold it up against the thing. You have your canvas. It's never canvas. It's monk's cloth, primary backing cloth, or I use burlap. You stretch it over a frame like you would stretch an art canvas, and then you just the gun punches in between the weave of the cloth as it goes all the way up. So you can actually follow like. I call it like riding the valley. Like when you get really good at it, you get in this kind of Zen mode where the gun just lifts itself up and goes in a perfectly straight line with the weave of the cloth. And on the back side, it's really cool because it looks like these really tight little braids. And on the front side, you get the rug, and that's how it works out.
Cool.
Wow.
You should just go watch the videos of it because they're incredibly sad.
The videos look wild.
Yeah, they do.
And everybody makes crazy videos about rugs, and no one really explains the process at all. So it's like you get a lot of people that are like, I want to try that, but I have no idea what's going on. I'm eventually, when I get around to it, gonna release a video that has like, it's gonna be like everything nobody else would tell you about rug tufting, because like I had to learn so much stuff by myself that like just little nuances and how to do it right, and like things to just get the weave right and to get the lines you're laying down right and all that kind of stuff to make it flow properly. Things that no one explained online. They're all like, oh, stretch your canvas, put your gun up against it, and pull the trigger, and away you go. It's like, and now here's 10 minutes of me with slow motion with weird music making a rug, which is a great video. They're always good, but it's like I learned nothing except that I want a rug gun.
Textile machines in general are like incredible. Like they're just like the level of complexity inside of them and how satisfying they are, like especially in their sound, is great. Like we got 10 sewing machines at camp, and we finally used them all at once the past 2 days. The kids are making these like custom pillows. And it's all, I just love like watching sewing machines work, especially like the walking foot ones that you see in leatherworking, where it literally looks like someone walking across the surface of material, like looms and things. They're so cool. They're so interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, they're really cool. I gotta get better at sewing. I can hand sew a little bit, but my machine skills are not there. But one day I'll have a project where I need it. So actually, maybe soon, because I want to start doing patches, rug patches for clothing, and integrate it with apparel a little bit and see what I can do with that.
Ooh,
I think
that's cool.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, sorry to dive a little deeper down this textile technology rabbit hole. Have you ever seen embroidery machines, like CNC embroidery machines?
Oh yeah, I want one of those so bad. They're so cool.
Those are wild. Like it's actually. Sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say I was trying to remember the price point of those because I remember looking it up and being like, I don't have an idea for that price yet. So
yeah, I think it's to the tune of like $8,000 to $15,000. I think it's somewhere around there. And then even the so you can get non-CNC embroidery machines, which look like a sewing machine with a screen on it, but they're still like incredibly complex pieces of equipment. I don't quite understand. I like to call her my other half at camp. This girl, Megan, who helps run the site with me, she studies fashion design. So she's experienced with a lot of these things. And she has like a small embroidery machine. And it's still like a piece of CNC equipment to a certain level. It's just like there's some manual input. But you can get these like sewing machine size embroidering machines for like $500 that are you can still do really amazing stuff with. And I think you can't do hats with them because the cloth isn't it's not bendable enough, but it's still pretty incredible equipment.
Yeah, I think for a while I was like, I really want to make patches, and then I was like, well, I didn't. I think it was like $500 or so was the thing I was looking at, and I was like, yeah, it's the cheapest one, and I don't know if it's what I need, and also like it'll just collect dust if I don't make these patches. So at the time, I wasn't ready to jump into textiles, but then I saw a rug gun 2 years later, and I was like, I'm in.
And so, beyond the possible embroidery machine, do you have a different piece of dream equipment that you want to get next?
Not really. I think I'm pretty well set right now. I mean, like, if I had the money, I'd upgrade some of my stuff. I'd get off the contractor table saw and get a saw stop, stuff like that, you know. But for the most part, no. I picked up a welder last year and taught myself a little bit about welding. So that's been fun. I don't know. I guess probably a blacksmithing setup would be next for me. But I'm gonna let the wave of blacksmithing popularity die down a little bit before I go into that, because it's just, you know, I think a lot of it right now is everyone's making great videos where they shoot sparks around and everything's glowing and they make a thing and no one really cares what the thing they made was. They just want to watch people blacksmith, which is completely understandable.
Right.
But I want to get to I always like my videos to come from a point of like end product being the goal of watching the videos, see what is being made and everything else is leading up to that point, as opposed to 20 minutes of sparks and glowing hammer hits. Because like if someone's not explaining it to you, it's really difficult for you to actually know what's going on just watching a blacksmithing video. You know, it's like he's hitting it again. It's like he's hitting it, now it's on fire again. Now he's hitting it again. Like that's all you can really see, unless someone's telling you like, no, now I'm doing it at this temperature. I hardened this part. This is what I have to taper out. You know, that's a lot more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. That was the thing I really wanted to do in my parents' backyard in high school. And that was probably the last time in my life up to this point where I actually could have set up a blacksmithing setup. And at this point, I'm going to have to wait till I get my own land. I had a small window of opportunity and now I have to wait.
Yeah, I've got the land, but unfortunately the anvils are expensive, man. And right now everyone wants a dang anvil. So like, you just can't get one. Like every time Chris gets a bunch of anvils, or like, well, any of the Chris's get a couple of anvils, I'm like, oh, like maybe I want one of those. And then they're just like, oh yeah, sure. It's like $500. I'm like, okay, I don't really want one that badly.
Do you have a grinder?
Yeah, I've got a grinder. Yeah, I can do stock removal stuff.
Just go to your local train track and Go down.
Yeah, I've actually got a chunk of train tracks. I just got to
derail a train.
Yeah, exactly. just go steal train tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, I could set up a really kind of DIY, crappy forge kind of thing right now, but I don't think I have so much else going on. It's like, I'd rather just save up and get an anvil and do one thing right for a change.
I will say, metalwork has never really been my thing. It's just so hot and messy and annoying and painful. Like a metal shard is so, like, the chips and stuff. It's just such painful compared to wood chips and stuff. Like I'm not into that.
Yeah, it's a whole different set of PPE gear you got to get to. Like,
yeah. For anyone wondering, I just checked on my CNC and it's running fine.
nice.
Everything's cutting fine. So
It's not swinging around the room. The gantry's not like off and like hinged swinging. Like,
no,
yeah,
it's really cool to actually see like a shape coming out that I have made. Like I cut out the whole downs and like they were just like some rectangles, so there's nothing. And then the dust boot was someone else's project. I just like got the file off them, but to actually have designed something, I actually took from Morley's video last week. Was it where the toilet one? How you with the photo? So I took
reference photos in Fusion.
Took a photo of some tools next to a ruler and brought it into Fusion and made the pockets for them in the drill bottom. So that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I never had the urge to get a CNC or to like. I never cared that much until like once I got it because I needed it. There was a complete difference in cutting out something that you designed, watching something you designed be cut out on the thing, like become a real shape in a real world. That was amazing. Like it's a weird. I didn't expect it. I was like kind of a little bit overcome. I was like, wow, this is really kind of incredible. Like that was in my head yesterday. Now it's becoming a thing, and I'm barely lifting a finger.
Yeah. All right. In saying that, let's move on to Clampmendations.
Sure. This is one Tyler Bell's video with the tennis rackets. Have you guys seen this?
I've not.
So Tyler decided he wanted to shoot a tennis ball through a tennis racket at like 500 miles an hour. So he built a compressed air gun with a vacuum front. The kid's brilliant, and he's got like the triple threat of like being a good like YouTube maker. He's like brilliant. He's just got great ideas, and he has like he's charming. He's very eloquent, and he's just like, and he knows what he's doing. And he shot. So it's hard to explain without really giving it away, but I guess I'll give it away because he already put the video out. He basically shoots a tennis ball through a tennis racket where he replaces strings with
razor blades.
It's like razor blades. Yeah, but there's a certain kind of like machine. They're for like die cutting, so that you're supposed to be able to like shape them into dies and use them that way. But he kind of tensioned them up in a tennis racket, and it is incredible. He shoots the ball right through it. It just waffles itself. It just like becomes French fry. It becomes tennis ball French fries essentially, and it's like the cleanest cut. It's amazing, and he does it with a few other things. It's a great video. He does it with like music wire, and he does it with the regular strings on the racket just to kind of show what's going on. Then he shoots it through a watermelon. He shoots potatoes into it to make French fries. Like it's great. Like it scratches that kind of like Mythbusters itch, but also it's like really approachable, you know?
Nice.
Yeah. That looks really cool. I'm going to be checking that out.
So when I went to summer camp, one of the program areas was riflery, and you would shoot 22 rifles at targets. And one day of every session was bring your own target day. And you got to bring whatever you wanted and shoot it. So I brought a tennis ball, and if you've never shot a 22 before, it's basically the weakest, I guess, ammunition size. Like it's kind of basically the smallest bullet cartridge size you can shoot. I'm pretty sure that the bullet bounced off the tennis ball.
Tennis balls are really, really resilient for good reason, obviously. But yeah, they're like rubberized cardboard hollow, and they're made to bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And the 22, yeah, they're not made for penetration. They're made for just hurting something quickly.
Yeah, it's like a pellet gun. Yeah.
All right. Well, my Clampmendation this week is going to be a video by Mighty Car Mods. I'm pretty sure I've recommended them before, but one of the hosts on there, Blair, his nickname is Moog, did a shed tour of like his home shed, and it's made for woodworking. So he has like a little mini CNC. He's got a small lathe and stuff. But it was really cool because like they do car videos. They've got like their own shop, and then Marty, the other one, has a shed at his house which is made for like working on cars. But then Moog does the woodworking stuff on the side. But they don't make videos about it, so it was really interesting to see a shop that is made for woodworking but not filming, if that makes sense. Like, so everything's set up different. Where like, he has like Colin Furs has his like disc sander on the back of a door, so he can swing it out and the dust can just go everywhere. But like someone filming wouldn't do that because you can't get the angles and stuff you need and all that sort of stuff. So it's just really interesting to see a shop that's set up not for filming. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things you got to think about when you're making videos. Is like, where am I going to put the camera?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, my back's not always facing it, or my arm's not always in the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm thinking seriously about getting a nice wide angle lens, like wider than the one I have. Trying to decide if I want to spend $1,000 on that or not. But in a small space, it would be really nice, like to actually be able to capture the whole room.
Yeah.
Get that surveillance video look.
Yeah. Sometimes
That's
you want
great.
that look.
Yeah, sometimes you want to look like you're breaking into someone's house to build something.
Yeah.
Just be
Maybe-
like,
yeah, maybe I should
just
buy a
film
GoPro.
everything on a GoPro. Exactly.
Yeah. Let's put it in the corner.
Everything's wide angle.
There you go. All right. This week, my Clammendation is one of my favorite TikTok creators. His handle on TikTok is PDUSA. You might have seen him on. He's pretty popular on the platform. You might have seen him. He has like really long, lovely brown hair and a beard, and he usually plays like 5 different characters in the videos. He does these like absolutely hilarious. Keith's nodding. Keith, I'm happy that you know who he is.
That guy's amazing. That guy's so good because his videos are so subtly funny.
Yes,
Like, yeah,
super witty and smart.
As if it's him talking to himself as if he lives with like 5 versions of himself, basically, right? Like that guy.
Yeah, it's like sketch comedy skits.
Yeah, it's really good.
And apparently he's like, I think his main thing might be he's a musician. Like I'm going through his website and I don't know if he's like a Bo Burnham type of guy, if it's comedy music or what, but definitely like a multi-talented dude. It's not like, I would say most of his videos aren't like rolling on the floor laughing, but like super witty, like really, really, you just got to see it. He has an Instagram as well. If you don't go on, I can play one of his videos.
Sorry about that. Oh, I didn't mean to. I forget that TikTok auto plays as soon as you open the app.
Yeah, it's very aggressive app. He's also on Instagram. I think it's the same on Instagram. I'll link them both in the show notes. But
yeah, this guy's great.
He's
he looks
just
like
like
my friend. He looks like my friend from like 20 years ago. Like this guy I used to hang out with, who's very much the same way. That's why I caught it. I was like, wait, is that Paige? No, it's not. It's a different guy. But yeah, he's very funny.
All right, I think we sold him sufficiently. Everyone check out PDUSA. He's hilarious.
I somehow just started watching one of his compilations. That was different. Anyway,
now I'm just on TikTok. Sorry, guys. It's like,
isn't that the way though? My wife and I last night, I finally got my wife to start watching Animal Kingdom. We watched 2 episodes, and I'm literally falling asleep. And then we go lay in bed, and I look at my phone for like an hour on TikTok. It's like, what the hell? I was falling asleep a minute ago. It's so weird. Anyway, I want to thank everyone that listens and supports our show, especially those that support us on Patreon. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/clamp. And our highest level, the F Clamp, gets their name shouted out on the show. And we have a new one now. So Brent Jarvis from Clean Cut Woodworking is one of our F Clamp level Patreons. And thank you for your support. Thank you to anyone else who supports us on there, and thank you to anyone who just listens to our show. If you don't want to support us on Patreon, you can just please share the show, like the show, I guess. I don't know. I'm always bad at this, aren't I? And tag, I know, right? And then if you want to put up a story on Instagram, tag the Clampcast, and I will always share that story. try and get your name out there a little bit as well. Anyone who does support us on Patreon, though, does also get access to the pre-show and after show and a keychain made by our one and only Morley Kurt, which is
That's me.
pretty cool. Yeah. Also want to thank TF Turning for the theme music, and you can find us. Where are we? We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Soon to come to TikTok, maybe.
More importantly, where can you find Keith? Just about everywhere.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
I'm easy to find.
All right, sorry, not mean to step on
You
your
know I'm
hosting
not
toes.
good at this host. You know I'm not good at this hosting thing.
You're doing great.
Yeah. Also follow us on YouTube. Help us get our 100 subscribers so we can get our custom URL. Just search Clamp Adam Morley Grant, and you should be able to find us on there. So now, Keith, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you?
See, with my podcast, people think I'm really good at it, but I just have infinite chances to record what I'm doing. I just record it, and then I record it again 15, 20 times.
That's me when I record videos.
Yeah, it's funny. Videos, I just talk over it. I don't even give myself like more than one take with the podcast I do. You can find me at Keith Decent anywhere. KeithDecent, which is all the social media things. I always get my name as soon as I can. And I also have a podcast from the ground up, ftgupodcast.com, and you can search that. It's not like anybody else's podcast, I think, in terms of the maker sphere that we're in. I try to do something a little different, so it's good times. Although I haven't put out an episode in like 6 months, so it's been a rough year. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, for those listening that are Patreons, we're going to head over to the after show. So, bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Just a young guy lives there. It's nothing like that crazy. But he came with the house, and he just he pays rent.
He came with the house.
Yeah. Well, when I bought the house, he was already living here.
It just sounds funny.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. He was installed. I couldn't get rid of him.